Hi there. Welcome to Stories Shorten the Road, another episode. This story comes from Korea, and I heard it back when I visited my daughter who was working in Korea. Now, she did learn some Korean language, but not enough to actually hear the stories. She had to hear them in English from her students. And they were kind of different, some of those stories, so I quite enjoyed them. They had lots of the stories had tigers in them, of course, as the dangerous animal. And, well, this story, though, doesn't have a tiger. It has an old couple, who lived in a little village. The great sadness of their life was that even though they were happily married and really loved each other, they never had any children. They had also a neighbor who was grumpy and quite nosy. He was always watching what other people were doing and complaining and criticizing. And he was sort of an old man, about the same age as this couple in the story. Now, the man in the story earned his living by cutting wood and then selling it in the market for firewood. And one day he was in the woods outside their village, looking for dead wood and looking for wood to cut. And he saw an unusual bird. And the bird sang, and it was as if the bird was trying to get his attention. And then the bird would fly a little further into the woods, and so he followed the bird. And then it flew away a little further into the woods, and he followed it some more. And he was now in a place in the forest that he'd never been to before. He was thirsty. It was a hot day, and he'd walked a long way. And there was this beautiful little stream with, wherever it sort of slowed down, made little pools that you could almost jump in. And he bent down and he cupped some water and he drank it. And it was so refreshing. He had several cups with his hands like that. And then he continued on cutting the wood. He couldn't see the bird anymore. It seemed to stay near the little stream. And then he went home. But when he went to the house, and his wife was there, and she'd had supper ready, she looked at him and she said, "Who are you?" "Why, I'm your husband. I've just been gone for the day. I've been looking for firewood in the woods." No, my husband's an old man," she said. "You're a young man. Go and look in the mirror there, you'll see." And he looked in the mirror and he could see he was a young man. And then his wife said, "You look a lot like my husband when he was young and we were first married." "I am your husband," he said. "I know what's happened. You have to come with me right now." And he took her by the hand and he rushed her back through the woods before the darkness came, and on and through and through and through and through until they came deep in the woods to that stream with the little pools of water. And he said, "I had a drink from this stream. That's the only thing that was different today. Cup your hands and pick up some of that water and drink it." And she did. And it tasted so good. And she had some more. And then he said, "Stop. Now, come on back home." And together they went back home again, and she was just as young as he was. They were as young as they were when they were first married. Now, that nosy neighbor, he saw them walking home. And he saw that they were a young couple, and they waltzed right up to his next door neighbor's house and opened the door and walked in, and he thought, "What's going on here? I'm going to have to check this out." So he took himself over to his next door neighbor's, and he didn't even knock. He just walked right in, and he saw the young couple there, and he said, "Who are you? You don't live here. My neighbors are an old couple." "Oh, that's us," they said. That's us." "What do you mean that's us?" You look like you were young enough to just be married." I know, I know. You'll never believe this, but deep in the forest is this beautiful stream and pools of water, and all we did was take a drink." "You better show me," said the grumpy neighbor. "Tomorrow, when the light is good, we'll take you." And so the next day, they took their neighbor through deep into the woods to where that stream with the beautiful pools were. And they said, "There, just have a drink." He says, "I'm going to do more than have a drink." And he took off all his clothes and he jumped into one of the pools. And the young couple stood there for the longest time, and they wondered what's going to happen to him. He disappeared in the water. They called out his name. "Come, come, it's time to go home, it's time to go home." And the day kind of wore on, and he didn't come out, and he didn't come out. And they went to the edge of the pool, and they started to wade in to look for him in case he had drowned. And to their surprise, there, floating in the pool, was a baby. Oh, our grumpy old, nosy old neighbor has turned into a baby. He stayed in the water for too long. Now what will we do? "Well, I know what we'll do," said the wife. "We've always wanted a child of our own. We'll take this baby home and raise it as our child." And that's exactly what they did. And somewhere in the mountains of Korea, if you're lucky enough, you might find that stream and be thirsty and take a drink and have all of your youth return to you. Now, wouldn't that be something? Well, until that time comes, I guess we'll just muddle through, and we'll get our vaccinations, and we'll wait out this pandemic storm. So you can come back to this website and look for, which is marylouisechown.com. And you can even send me a message, and you can to look for this story and some of my newer ones under that heading of Stories Shorten the World. And I'll see you again next time.